Hello everybody. Quick news here. Looks like they released a new update today. Now this is actually huge. I normally don't do a whole lot of news stuff, but Diablo 4 will become a very big part of this channel when it is released. But this is the biggest changes that I have seen in terms of stuff that Blizzard has released ever since the beta. Massive changes that are going to change just so much. So let's go ahead. Let's get into this. So first off, dungeon layout changes. People were complaining about backtracking a lot. I found this was true. There was a couple of them. Like there was one specific. It was an ice cavern. I think it was Rhymescar Caverns actually. And what you would have to do is you need to go kill these like bone pillar things, right? That spawn an elite. You kill them, and that's one of the objectives. But I noticed that the way that they were placed, I had to backtrack a lot. That was kind of annoying, but it didn't bug me that much. But they changed it anyway, so that's cool, you know. Looks like they've done it for quite a few dungeons, and these are the ones specifically that they did it for in the first zone. The next change. Now this one is absolutely insane because if you watched a couple of my D4 videos I made during the beta, I was talking about how you get weapon affixes and how you get legendary affixes. And that one of the best ways to get them was actually by using the obol vendor and buying gloves and then extracting them from the gloves to put onto whatever piece of gear you want. Well, they just increased the chance for an event to spawn from inside a dungeon from 10% to 60%. That is huge because that means you're obol farming. You don't need to just run around and do world events. You can just run and do dungeons over and over again and actually farm obols to where it'll be more closely in tune with what a Greater Rift is like in D3. And with it being more like a Greater Rift in D3, how you get blood shards at the very end and then you spend them at Kadala, now it's going to be very similar in D4 where you just spend your obols at, I forget what her name is. I've been calling her Kadala the whole time, but that's not her actual name. So then dungeon gameplay changes to reduce the need to backtrack. Small numbers of straggling monsters will seek out the player to help complete. That's pretty good. When Animus is gathered, the player and nearby allies will gain 10 resource, reduce active cooldowns by 1 second. Okay, so that's kind of crazy. So that just means the Animus ones are gonna really be like gonna really speed up, I guess. Depositing Animus channel time is reduced from. Okay, I don't. This seems so minor. I don't even. Were people really complaining about the Animus channel time? Huh. Alright, I guess. Whatever. You know what? This is fine though, because like regardless, even if it wasn't that big of a deal, still cool. While carrying the ancient statue, bloodstone, mechanical box, you will receive a momentum bonus, granting 25% move speed. That's pretty sweet. Because I remember grabbing the box and having to backtrack with it and being like, my god, this is awful. Right? Like, I was like, oh my gosh. Right? Oh man. The more like they point out these changes, the more I'm like, yeah, that actually was kind of annoying. But yeah, so receive a momentum bonus of 25% to you and your allies, so everybody gets it, not just one. Pedestals have had their channel time reduced from 2 to 0 seconds. Okay, returning a portable object to its pedestal now fully restores health, resource, potions, and resets cooldowns for all nearby players. Alright, so they're just like hard buffing when you complete an objective. They're really making these dungeons going to speed up with all these cooldown resets. Because that's one thing that I did not see a lot of in the beta was CDR. So, like, there were some specific talents that gave you CDR, like reducing cooldowns of very specific abilities, but it wasn't like CDR like what you have in D3 where you put on a Ring of the Zodiac and all of your cooldowns are being, reduced all the time. All structure objectives and now have additional combat mechanics players must overcome. That's pretty sweet. I actually felt like the structure objectives were, some of them were a little bland. Like they were still fun because the elite popped up, but I was like, they could do a little bit more here in terms of difficulty. But I'm also, a Soul/Elden Ring player, so I very much like difficulty being added to games. Whereas I can understand if other people just want to blast, do not. All right, so classes and this this is this is big. These are going to be big. They're actually doing class changes. So general effects like stun and freeze can be applied to elite monsters twice as long as before they become unstoppable. Okay, that's so they pretty much nerfed becoming. I think the word for it is DR'd, where you've used so much CC on something that you can't CC it anymore. So they've doubled that to where it takes even longer for them to get DR'd. Reviewed class skills to confirm that all classes have access to sufficient skills that remove control impairing effects. Many legendary powers have had their updates to their effectiveness. Okay, so this is huge because I did notice that it felt like sometimes I would just get CC chained and there was like no counterplay to it. Like you get hit by one ability and then you're CC chained by like 4 different things and you die, but whatever. Many legendaries powers have had updates to their effectiveness. Oh, okay. I really wish I knew what that was because there were some changes I put in my druid thing that I really would have liked seeing, and I'm hoping they did it. If they remove the cooldown of Earth Spike on that legendary, God, it's gonna be so good. God, it'll be so good. Where it makes it a line. Oh my God, please. Okay. Barbarian, a flat 10% passive damage reduction has been added for the Barbarian class. Oh, alright. Some skill tree passes had their damage reduction effects reduced to compensate. Okay, that makes sense. Because like I said, the issue with Barbarian was not that it was bad later on. It was just not that great early. So you really don't want to just start giving them things just to try to compensate the early, because then that's going to affect late. So this is actually good that they reduced it later on, because the idea here is they need to just be smoothing out the first 10 levels, not not just hard buffing them. The Whirlwind skill now deals more damage, consumes more fury. Okay, the double swing skill enhancement refunds its full fury cost when used on stunned. Oh, I remember thinking double swing wasn't that great, but that's huge. That's actually real. That's a really big change. I think double swing could potentially become really good now. So now on to the one that I care about, Druid. Companion skills will now deal heavily increased. Oh my God, why would you do that, Blizzard? Oh my. All ultimate skills have had their cooldowns reduced. I do agree with that. Usability improvements have been made to maul and pulverize. I do like that as well. Using a non-shape-shifting skill will transform a druid back into their human form. That's okay. That's a nice quality of life change. But the first one, no, this is, oh dude, that is insane. Heavily increased. The whole reason why I actually thought the companion skills were balanced was because they didn't do a crazy amount of damage until you had a legendary. Now they're heavily buffing the damage. I'm gonna put a link down in the description to the companion build I made, and you tell me, like, don't get me wrong, it's not like it was, the most insane thing ever, but like it did not need to be buffed. I was like pressing my wolf ability and I was one-shotting elites. Like I walked up to the Din Mother and killed her in like 10 seconds or something. Like what? I don't like what? Man. So for reference, for those of you that don't know, Druid has a legendary that says animal companions deal like 250% increased damage, right, when you put it on your weapon. So and then there's another legendary that turns your wolves into werewolves, lets them spread rabies, and increases their damage by another 100%. So they just increased the wolf damage just off the chain now, which is cool. Which is cool. Like I'm not gonna complain, but I don't know. It's the werewolf build might be I don't know. It might be super super insane on release. Super insane because of this. Or at least the werewolf companion build. So all ultimate skills have had their cooldowns reduced. I actually agreed with this. I totally thought that. Okay, so if you haven't watched that video where I did the druid skills rundown, right? I felt like petrify or whatever it was called, the earth one. Like, I mean, you had your vine creeper thing that you get for your companion does like the same thing, but it's on a way reduced cooldown. So it was just kind of like, why is this on a 60-second cooldown to just do an AoE stun, right? I don't know if I agree. I don't know if I agree. I do not know if I agree with the Cataclysm passive being reduced, because that one was crazy. That one was actually really good and really fun. But I'll take it. I'll take it, because maybe that'll help smooth things out. Because I did have some other issues with the Storm builds. Like I didn't really care for Storm Strike or whatever the heck that thing was called, that channeled ability. Usability improvements have been made. So I don't know. I never got a whole lot of bear legendaries, so I never got to try it out. I kind of was just using the legendaries I found, and I played like 40 hours of Druid, and I really just didn't find any of the bear stuff. Like my friend had like all the bear stuff. He had so many legendaries I just never found, but I also found a bunch of legendaries he didn't find, so works out. Using a non-shape. So this is actually cool. So in the build video that I was doing with the companions, I was running Primal Strike, I believe that's what it's called, and then I was running Shred. And whenever you use Primal Strike, that was turning you back into a human. So I don't understand if maybe not all of the abilities were doing that, but I was actually abusing the crap out of that because there was a legendary that says you get X Fortify, which is essentially like a second health bar when you get it maxed up. Uh, Whenever you shapeshift. So I was constantly shapeshifting back and forth in and out of being a werewolf, so I had like just crazy defense from the fortify. So if they, but now that I think about it, there was a couple abilities that didn't change me back. So maybe it just has to do with a couple of abilities that didn't, but most of them were. Okay, Necromancer. Summoned minions will die more often, requiring players to utilize corpses more often. This makes sense. Necromancer, dude, you just have nothing to do with those corpses. Many bonuses in the Book of the Dead have had their stats increased. Okay, the damage dealt by corpse explosion skill has been reduced. Makes sense. This was by far stupid broken. The brightness of skeletal warriors and mages have been reduced. Okay, I don't really know why, but uh, that's a weird change. I don't know what they mean by brightness. They just mean the coloring, whatever. Many bonuses in the Book of the Dead have had their stats increased. This one is pretty big because, I mean, Necromancer is going to be a pretty passive class where it's going to be really minion based. So, I don't know. I'm still not certain how I feel about the Necromancer overall. Alright, Rogue. Upgrades for subterfuge skills have had their bonuses increased. Okay, that makes sense. Multiple passive skills. All imbuement has had their cooldowns increased. That's interesting. So, I understand this, because I thought Rogue had some, the subterfuge skills I didn't think were that great. So, maybe this will help fix that. But the imbuement skills I thought were insane. Like, I thought they were really good, and now their cooldowns are increased. And I remember I was doing a rogue build where I was doing like the poison imbuement and the shadow imbuement. So I was doing like kind of like a sort of a shotgun build where it was like 1, 2, 3. I was using the energy point combo thing. I was going 1, 2, 3 shoot, and then to utilize the imbuement passives, and I was just kind of rotating, and it was smashing. It was fun though. All right, sorcerer. Charge bolts damage was increased, and the mana cost has been decreased. Okay, decrease the damage of Chain Lightning, reduce its effectiveness against bosses. Okay, Chain Lightning was the only good lightning skill. Decrease the cooldown of Incinerate skill's enchantment bonus. Firewalls will now spawn underneath enemies more frequently when using its enchantment bonus. Increase the lucky hit chance for the meteor skill's enchantment bonus. I kind of agree with this actually. So the developer note, whenever we introduce changes, it is the goal of meeting the both impactful and powerful. Your feedback has helped us uphold this deal. Some players have that certain skills were too powerful. One of our goals for so um, the Hydras were insane. Now I will say this: I know somebody that played Hydras, and they said that the Hydras got really hard nerfed already from the alpha to the open beta. So I'm not so worried about that. But Hydras I think was probably the best performing build that the sorcerer has. With that being said, I felt like I didn't feel like sorcerer was broken overall. I just felt like it had one really broken build, and I felt like everything else on it was kind of lackluster. Like, dude, lightning was just the lightning ultimate was so fun, but since the base abilities are so bad, because the way it works was you would activate the ability, and then a bunch of basic lightning abilities will start going off around you. But since all the basic lightning abilities sucked and didn't do any damage, it was just kind of like, okay, well, whatever. Like it looked amazing. It looked so sweet just having all this shit going on. But like, yeah, so this is cool. Chain Lightning I think was the only good lightning spell. If you were to ask me, that and then the ult looked cool. Was not good, but looked cool. So maybe this will actually help. I don't know, maybe this will help the ult, maybe it won't. Decrease. I never played with Incinerate, but I think one thing too people got to remember, and this is why I wasn't too harsh about the sorcerer, is that there's going to have things called skill intensity in the game. So as you put ranks into the ability, the AoE, the radius, and even the spell effect is going to look more intense. So you got to be thinking about that when you're going into this. So this kind of makes sense that they didn't do any like crazy sweeping changes. Yeah, I was hardly proccing the meteor skill bonus, so I don't know what that was about. Looks like one. Did they not change? 1, 2, 3, 4. No. Okay. For some reason, I was feeling like did they miss a class? But no, there's only gonna be 5 classes on release. So yeah, Pretty sweet. Okay, UI encounters. Fix multiple issues that'll like to become unresponsive. Oh, yeah. I saw a video of that happening. The Butcher has been reevaluated for difficulty and will present a greater challenge on World Seals 3 and 4. No, dude, I actually... Man, the Butcher was that was so good. I love that. Bosses such as Tichort, Malnock, Venard, and others were reevaluated for melee character difficulty, resulting in changes to attacks and fight mechanics. Okay, so it looks like they're making adjustments to try to make the Druid and Barbarian's early experience better. Fixed an issue where Vampire Brutes using the Shadow Enchant affix would chain cast Impale. Okay. Increase the chance for a dungeon event to occur in cellars. Okay, that's huge as well. Cellars will now consistently reward a chest upon completion. Okay, would prematurely marked as complete. Fix an issue where the guaranteed elite monster would be absent from the cellar. Okay. General quality of life. Fix an issue where players could increase their attack speed by move canceling attacks earlier. That's normal. That's just attack moving. Like that's like a MOBA thing. Fixed an issue where characters weren't immune and untargetable after loading into an area. The reset dungeon button has been disabled. What? Why would they disable this? What? I love that. I love that I could just press a button and reset the dungeons. Man, I wish they left that in there. I bet it was just because somebody accidentally reset when they didn't mean to or something and it caused some niche problem. Fix an issue that caused Gale Valley and Serric Rapture to have less monsters than intended. Okay. Well, that's it. Well, this is huge. This is probably the biggest update in my opinion I've seen because the rest of it was expected, and they were like, oh, into the end game and yada yada. I already knew that there was a ton of stuff that we hadn't seen yet. Like we've played till level 25. I know some people don't like hearing that. Oh, we only played till level 25. It's like, yeah, you could see some of the core stuff, but there's a lot of stuff in the end game that's going to change things. The people that I know that have played the alpha have all said we have played so little of the game and there's just so much more to builds and stuff like that. So it's really hard to judge anything like super harsh. That's why I think this right here is I think that was unnecessary, but I did see that there was a lot of people, streamers, that were all complaining about the companion skill damage, but I think maybe they did this too to try to make it to where you don't have to be so reliant on legendaries, because I will say this. Companion skills did not deal hardly... Well, sorry, the wolf companion skill specifically. The crow one did alright, and I think the vine creeper one did alright. Well, actually, no, the crow one wasn't that great either. So the crow and the wolves didn't do that much. Vine creeper was great. I don't care what anybody says. That one was... I really love that one. But, yeah, the wolves didn't do that much damage, but when you factor in there's two legendaries that both have massive damage increases for them, it's like that's probably why they were so low, is to try to offset that. But now, yeah, companion build will just be insane on release with Druid now. Heavily increased damage. That's just companion builds are going to be really, really good. So that's cool. But anyway, so that has been the changes that was recently released. I believe that's today. So yeah, enjoy. I'm pretty excited for Diablo 4 and I look forward to it. If you guys like this video, want to see more like it, like, subscribe. It helps me out a ton, and thanks for watching.